I don't think we ever had a parasite issue really to the level that we have now because of the level of toxicity that we're experiencing, because they're literally putting it in every product, like air, food, water. I mean, you paint your toenails and you dye your hair, you've just given yourself heavy metals, right? A lot of the food is malnourished, meaning we're not getting the nutrition to actually, our bodies get rid of these things naturally. But if you're depleted, you're not. And so you're storing and building those things up. And so that's where the parasites come in to do the job. And it could be all kinds of different admixtures, like usually inside of tumors and other growths, you'll find like a whole cacophony of different microorganisms involved because there is a cultural sort of party happening in there to work on the secondary metabolites as well to try to get them out of the body. So if you didn't poison your body, you wouldn't have parasites. Okay. So
Right.
they're only found when there's a toxic soup for them to live
Right.
in. Yeah. Intermittent fasting can be great. You just have to know what you're doing when you're doing really long-term fasting because the refeeding portion can be challenging. And so I learned about the blood type diet back in naturopathic college. This was probably around 2005. And being a type A, and at the time I was vegan, I thought that it like validated for me what I wanted to hear, which ended up not being true because
Yeah.
what I learned later is we don't just have four blood types. We actually have like hundreds of different varieties of blood types. And so it's an interesting theory. I congratulate someone for thinking in that way and for kind of formulating something that someone can work with constructively. And I'm sure it helped a lot of people to just get to whatever that stage was, help me get to whatever stage I needed to get to after dismantling it quite a bit. I think there's more to it. It would have to be proven scientifically, which that hasn't been done, of course.
Yes.
And it would have to also include the new information that keeps coming as we are continually inundated with like more and more as we're waking up, right? There are like, if you have a type A blood type, right? Like what type of type A,
Right.
and also the blood type can change and people don't realize that. They think it just can be the same thing. So like I had a blood type A negative and then I got pregnant and I had a miscarriage. And after my miscarriage, I was A positive. So my blood type changed through that process. So that I realized there's a flexibility there. There's an adaptation that we haven't really looked at properly. So I don't have all the ins and
Wow.
outs of it, but it was enough for me to know that, and not just me, like I'd put that out there and said, has anyone ever had this happen to them too? And yes, which means that like the whole idea of suppression of like when you have a miscarriage, you have to go and get the drug to like make sure the whole idea of like miscarrying later is false. It's just we actually have a mechanism and adaptation in case of blood mixing. And maybe in those people, it's not working because they were vaccinated and damaged or whatever. But that doesn't
Wow.
mean, this is what I'm saying. Like once you meddle with the system, you've broken
Yeah.
things. Now you're always meddling and tinkering and creating these new inventions that were never needed at all if you just didn't tinker with the system at all. Our blood is alive and it's pleomorphically so, where the membrane creates our organisms, our microorganisms called somatids. And so the blood is actually living and creates these new creatures when we need them. And so just the fact that we don't even understand blood, we don't even understand water, right? I mean, blood and water are interconnected. The Bagelson brothers have been doing some amazing work, sort of leading from their father's lineage, Harvey, and they have written about holographic blood where they can take a slide of blood and look in their system and see a holographic image informing you exactly what's happening inside the body. So like they have pictures, for example, of someone who broke their femur or broke their tibia or something. And inside the holographic picture is like a broken femur, exactly, the way that it's broken. So we don't even need, imaging and this sort of thing. The imaging is right inside of our blood.